You're listening to The Observing Eye. Pirate radio for the mind. Coming at you fresh from the computer hell cabin.
Hello, you beautiful lot, and Happy New Year. Welcome to the first episode of the Observing Eye podcast with me, David Johnson. I say me in a weird way there, but this is going to essentially be a stream of consciousness where I just talk about things that I think might be relevant or useful off the back of a Substack, which I write, ironically called The Observing Eye as well. So this podcast is designed to support that and to throw some ideas into the mix and for you to hear me speak, to put a voice to the words that you may see on the page. So what am I going to be talking about today? That is a good question. I am not entirely sure. I've come into this slightly blind, but as it's the new year, there's a lot of talk and motivation and intent around resolutions and change and becoming a better person, cutting away the chaff, so to speak, trying to change our habits and behaviors for the better. I think resolutions can be both useful and detrimental in the sense that we will create expectations for ourselves, and invariably we won't necessarily meet those expectations, and in not meeting those expectations we go down this path of I'm not good enough, I haven't set to my agenda, I haven't achieved my goals, and it can become a repeating cycle where the expectations we set become nothing more than a tool for self-admonition. That's pretty shit, right? And feels like a negative pattern of behavior for us to get into. I feel that sometimes we set goals that are inherently unrealistic, and we don't exercise self-compassion in our attempts to achieve those goals. So let's say that you decided on the 1st of January to get into a diet or exercise regime, which I feel is a fairly common starting point for most. By the 7th of January, you may have missed a day of exercise, or you may have eaten a share bag of Doritos, not sponsored by the way. And I always think that share bags are a bit of a misnomer because I can quite comfortably demolish a share bag of most crisps. So, yeah, you know where I'm going with this. And we get into this idea that, oh no, I've eaten all the Doritos, I'm a terrible person, I can't keep to anything. And then the whole concept of the diet, the regime, the health kick falls into oblivion. Now, you may have noticed that I used the word self-compassion just then, and I think that self-compassion is a very, very important tool that we need to exercise, and that I don't think anywhere near enough of us use this in any sort of positive sense. Any sort of positive sense? Is there a negative sense of self-compassion? Probably not. So we need to remember. Oh, my words. We need to remember that we are human beings and that we are prone to make mistakes, that we are full of flaws and imperfections, and that is absolutely fine. Don't give yourself too much of a hard time if you slip up. Just accept it, acknowledge it. You've not failed. You've just been human. And carry on, keep going. Don't allow those little trips, the little falls, to derail you completely from your intent. You know, it's important that we work on ourselves and that we try and implement some idea of self-improvement and change for a positive, but don't get so wrapped up in the outcome. It's all about the process. It's all about the process. It's in the doing and the journey, and no journey is going to be smooth. So just give yourself a little bit of time, a little bit of compassion, and just be like, yeah, okay, so I'm only 7 days in. I've eaten an entire wheel of camembert. Like, it happens. There's still 4 kilos of cheese in the fridge I need to finish anyway from Christmas. It's just one of those things, right? Do not beat yourself up about it, okay? So, paraphrasing, if you are on any sort of like self-improvement drive in the new year, as many of us are, keep going. You're going to slip up every now and then. It's okay to slip up. Don't let it derail you. Okay. Contrarily, I do like that word, contrarily, how wonderfully it rolls from the tongue. So contrarily, if you are finding it difficult to start your whole self-improvement drive in earnest, if you're finding that you're procrastinating, I want you to remember that irrespective of people saying that if you procrastinate, you are lazy, this idea is entirely false. Procrastination is not laziness. Procrastination is our resistance to dealing with challenging emotions, and those challenging emotions can be brought about by anything that might trigger us. In the case of like a New Year's resolution thing, if it's around food or around exercise or anything like that, and you're really, really, really struggling to get into it, and you're just finding yourself going, man, I'll start tomorrow, or you're making excuses, basically, you're making excuses for not doing, take a moment to reflect on what's going on emotionally for you. I guarantee that when you dive into it, you will discover that it is nothing to do with apathy or laziness. It is all around some emotion that's coming up related to what you're trying to do or what you're trying to achieve. There could be some limiting beliefs kicking in, something like, oh, I've always been overweight, I can never lose weight, all this kind of crap, which isn't true at all, but it's something that you've convinced yourself. That's what's going to be stopping you from doing that. So any of those resistances, don't allow it to stop you. Step away from the resistance, step outside of that emotion that's going on and look at it and question and analyze. So what's going on here? Why am I feeling this way? And what's causing this? What's the root, the source of this procrastination, essentially? Okay. Now, as it's the first episode, I don't want to prattle on for too long. I'm just finding my feet with this stuff. And I do struggle a little bit sometimes to think of things to talk about continuously without rambling off into rant country. Thankfully, we've avoided that this episode. So I'm going to recap a little bit on no, I'm not going to recap. I'm going to go back to the beginning, and there's going to be all sorts of mistakes and things in this, and that's fine. I'm all right with that. Failure is a good thing. Nothing can be perfect, particularly myself. So coming back to where I was talking at the beginning about this podcast and what we're doing and the episodic nature of this stuff, I'm hoping, and I have the best intent and will in the world, that there will be an episode of this every Friday, and they will vary in length between around 10 minutes to however long I can ramble on for without losing concentration and my listener base. I may occasionally get people on here to talk to, which would be far more interesting because as a psychotherapist, I am better at listening and asking questions and responding to those than simply waffling on. However, why did I say however? Is there a however? Is there a significant break here? I have no idea. Anyway, yeah, I hope that was useful. However, I hope that was useful. And there is if you're on Substack, there's a comment section, so please ask me questions if you'd like to pick any of the stuff up that I've discussed in this particular episode. I will hopefully see you next Friday, which will be the 13th, Friday the 13th. How ominous and odorous that would be. Please go forth, enjoy your weekends, try not to stress too much about life. Remember, it's all a dream. Be aware of the things that don't matter. and have fun. Life needs to be enjoyed. As much as we may be living on protein shakes and dry crackers with porridge for the next month after the Christmas blowout. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you soon.
You've been listening to The Observing Eye. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I hope that you found it useful. And if you're interested in any more of my writings or work around psychology and philosophy and general day-to-day living, please go and take a look at my Substack, which is theobservingeye.substack.com, and that's I as in the letter, not I as in the gelatinous organ through which you see. Take care, everybody. Much love, and I'll see you soon.